Life Audio.
The Bible Study Podcast, episode 909. Today, the Bible Study Podcast continues with the study of the Gospel of Luke, with chapter 1. Welcome to the Bible Study Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Christensen. Last week, we only got through 4 chapters in Luke. We're going to do more today, but first a word from this sponsor. We start out here today with the birth of John the Baptist foretold, here in verse 5 of chapter 1. In the time of Herod, king of Judah, there was a priest named Zechariah who belonged to the priestly division of Abijah. His wife Elizabeth was also a descendant of Aaron. Both of them were righteous in the sight of God, observing all the Lord's commands and decrees blamelessly. But they were childless because Elizabeth was not able to conceive, and they were both very old. Once, when Zechariah's division was on duty, and he was serving as priest before God, he was chosen by lot, according to the custom of the priesthood, to go into the temple of the Lord and burn incense. And when the time for the burning of incense came, all the assembled worshippers were praying outside. Then an angel of the Lord appeared to him, standing at the right side of the altar of incense. When Zechariah saw him, he was startled and was gripped with fear. But the angel said to him, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah. Your prayer has been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you are to call him John. He will be a joy and delight to you, and many will rejoice because of his birth. For he will be great in the sight of the Lord. He is never to take wine or other fermented drink, and he will be filled with the Holy Spirit even before he is born. He will bring back many of the people of Israel to the Lord their God. And he will go on before the Lord in the spirit and power of Elijah, to turn the hearts of the parents to their children and the disobedient to the wisdom of the righteous, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord." Zechariah asked the angel, "How can I be sure of this? I'm an old man, and my wife is well along in years." The angel said to him, "I am Gabriel. I stand in the presence of God, and I have been sent to speak to you and to tell you this good news. And now you will be silent and not able to speak until the day this happens, because you did not believe my words, which will come true at their appointed time." Meanwhile, the people were waiting for Zechariah and wondering why he stayed so long in the temple. When he came out, he could not speak to them. They realized he had seen a vision in the temple, for he kept making signs to them, but remained unable to speak. When his time for service was completed, he returned home. After this, his wife Elizabeth became pregnant, and for 5 months remained in seclusion. "The Lord has done this for me," she said. "In these days he has shown his favor and taken away my disgrace among the people." So a lot going on here. The birth of John the Baptist, and John the Baptist, as Jesus will later call him, is the greatest of the prophets. And so he is this prophet who is sent before Jesus to prepare the way. But this whole story here of how he is born and how it is foretold that he is going to be born is an interesting story in its own right. So we start with his parents, and they are godly people. They are people who are righteous and blameless. Now, remember, we're coming at this study out of the study of the intertestamental period, where the people of Judah have gone through quite a tumult here to make sure they didn't lose their faith at the time of the Maccabees, when the Seleucid kingdom tried to turn them all into Greeks, or to turn them all into believe as the Greeks did. But these were some of the people who remained faithful. Now, this is it's 100 years or so after that time, but they're descendants of those people who remained faithful, and they are obedient. They're doing a good job of living out their faith. They don't just believe things, but they're behaving in a way that is blameless, we are told. But they're childless. And it's one of those things that at that time, and I'd like to say it doesn't happen in our day and age, but that it does, we ask those questions of, why is this person this? Why is this person sick? Why is this person childless? Why is this person whatever? And so they have had this, and it's even more so in this time period, where their understanding of sickness was that you were sick because you did something wrong, Or in this case, you must have done something wrong because you can't have children, which is not the case. We are told just straight up that that is not the case, but that's probably the whispers among Elizabeth's neighbors. And so Zechariah is on duty. He goes into the inner sanctuary to light and burn incense. And when he does, everybody's praying outside. And this is something that has not happened to him before. When he goes in, he sees an angel. Now, again, we don't have descriptions of angels. So if you're picturing somebody in white wearing with wings and a halo are not something that is described of Gabriel at any time in the Bible, although the wearing of white and bright robes certainly comes from other angels we see within the New Testament. That's a possibility. But Zechariah knows right away that this person isn't just somebody who wandered in here, that this is an angel. And we know that because he is gripped with fear. He's not gripped with fear because he thinks he's going to be mugged by somebody. He's gripped with fear because he knows he is seeing a messenger of God. And that's what angel means, a messenger of God. And so the very first thing Gabriel says here, we don't learn his name right away, but he says, do not be afraid. And that's always the first thing we hear from angels because it's terrifying. Because there is something about this heavenly being and the power that they are showing that is terrifying. And so the first thing Gabriel says is, don't be afraid. Your prayer has been heard. And I have to wonder here, if he is so old, is this even a prayer that he's been praying lately, or is it a prayer that was prayed years ago? Is this a prayer that he has completely given up on, or is he still praying this prayer long after the time period where it's likely to be answered? We don't know, but basically, he doesn't even have to explain what prayer he's talking about. You know the prayer. The prayer is that your wife will bear a son. He says, you're going to have a son and going to call him John. And what John means in Hebrew is that Yahweh has been gracious or graced by Yahweh. So God has given you something that you didn't deserve, something you weren't expecting. You're going to call him John so that everyone will know that God has been gracious. And he will be a joy and delight to you. And I love that part of it. There's no part of this that has to be a joy and delight for Zechariah. It doesn't need to be a joy and delight for Zechariah for God to do what he wants to do with John the Baptist, which is prepare the way for Jesus. But he chooses to prepare the way for Jesus through this son that will be a joy and delight to these two faithful believers. And isn't that just like him? Isn't that just like God to do this in a way that will bring joy? And many will rejoice because of his birth, for he will be great in the sight of the Lord. He will never take wine or other fermented drink. So now we start to get into, we haven't gone into the why is this happening, whatever, but this is what his life is going to be like. You're going to name him this. You're not going to give him any wine. He's going to be filled with the Holy Spirit. He's going to bring back people to Israel. He is coming, and he is coming with a mission. And he's coming with a set of instructions. And he'll go before the Lord in the spirit and the power of Elijah. Elijah, the greatest of the Old Testament prophets. To turn the hearts of the parents to their children and the disobedient to the wisdom of the righteous, to make the people ready. This is the job of John the Baptist, to make the path straight, to prepare a way for the Lord. And Zechariah does what I'm guessing you should not do when you go into the temple and you see an angel that you weren't expecting to see, and you know that they're a messenger from God. Is what you don't do is you say, are you sure? That doesn't seem very likely. How can I tell if this is true? Now, it's interesting because we're going to get a second visit from the angel Gabriel to Mary in a bit, probably next week at the pace that I'm going so far, who will also have some questions. She won't get in trouble for it, but Zechariah does. Gabriel says, I'm Gabriel. I stand in the presence of God. I've been sent to tell you this good news. You need to take a time out. You're going to spend some time thinking about what you just said because you're not going to talk for 9 months. you're not going to talk because you didn't believe my words. And so when he comes out here, he is making signs and pantomimes. He's doing charades. They could tell he's seen an angel. They didn't get the whole message here. Maybe he's not that good at charades, but they know that something just happened. And Zechariah will have some time to think about the question that he asked the angel Gabriel, because we're going to do some other stuff before we get back to Zechariah 9 months from now. But meanwhile, he goes home and his wife becomes pregnant. Now, you'll notice this is not a miraculous birth. His wife becomes pregnant because he came home, right? She gets pregnant in the typical fashion, even though she is too old. And for 5 months, she remains in seclusion. Now, I have to wonder, when it says that she can't have children, did she have miscarriages? Did she lose children along the way? Did she never get pregnant? But the 5 months, I think of, our daughter is expecting right now, sometime in the next 3 weeks or so. And they didn't tell everybody at first when they first found out. You don't tell everybody, you wait a few months, because there are things that can happen just fairly normally with pregnancies. And so you wait and tell people. She waits from 5 months. That's rather a long time. But she waits probably until she's beginning to show. And she goes out and shows her neighbors, who probably been whispering behind her back, "The Lord has done this for me. In these days he has shown his favor and taken away my disgrace among the people." And again, she is not just going to have a baby, she's going to have a baby that's going to prepare the way for Jesus, and she's going to have a baby that will fill her and her husband's hearts with joy and delight. And with that, we're going to end this episode of the Bible Study Podcast. We're not necessarily going to do one chapter per week for this study of Luke. I'm going to savor it a little bit here, but we'll continue on with the birth of Jesus foretold next week. If you have any questions, send an email to chris2x@gmail.com, or better yet, leave a comment on this episode at thebiblestudypodcast.com. And as always, thanks so much for listening. I want to take just a second to thank the team at Life Audio for their partnership with us on this podcast. If you go to lifeaudio.com, you'll find dozens of other faith-centered podcasts in their network. They've got shows about prayer, Bible study, parenting, and more.
A powerful prayer life does not require hiking a mountain to be able to hear from God. God can meet us right in the middle of our busy lives to help, guide, and speak to us through prayer. I'm Christina Patterson, host of the Teach Us to Pray podcast, providing practical teaching and encouragement on how you can make prayer a natural and consistent part of your everyday life. I promise it won't require hiking a mountain, but you just might develop the faith to move one. Listen and subscribe at lifeaudio.com.